Ian, your hair looks pretty good, man. Like,
Aw,
you're looking
thanks,
spiffy,
man.
dude.
Looks good, right? Got the fade, you know.
Dang, man, I might need to head over to that barber. Who you go to?
Well, I go to a cosmetologist in Cedar Hill named Camille. She's amazing.
Okay.
Cuts great hair, and I just wanted to learn more about cosmetology today. And so today we're interviewing Camille. We got her here.
Hi.
So without further ado, welcome back everybody to Career Compass, where we interview professionals about their jobs with the goal of learning more about the careers available to us. In this episode, we'll be having a conversation with Camille Holt, who has been a cosmetologist for how many years now?
About 9.
All right, 9 years. All right. So how did you get into the job?
I didn't originally want to do hair. My dad's grandmother, as well as his aunt, originally did hair back in like the 1940s, and they did it as a means of survival. They were single women raising families, and then my dad's father became a barber after he got out of the army, and he continued to do hair until he was 77 years old. So for me growing up, hair wasn't like a career. It was just a means of like providing for your family, and I could do better, like big air quotes on that. My dad was one of the first people in his extended family to go to college, and so there was a lot of pressure on me to continue like being better and to continue like the college legacy and the education route and everything, because that wasn't part of my family's history, was the opportunity to be able to go to school, go to college. And so because of that, my grandfather worked really long, hard hours and paid in cash for me, my brother, and my cousins to be able to attend the first 2 years of college. And so that just meant a lot to me, being able to see this man who had worked so hard to be able to like provide this opportunity for me to go forward with an education. And so just growing up, going through school, graduating, hair was not on my mind. It's not what I wanted to do. It was not for me. I wanted to go into psychology and more specifically work with children and teenagers. But that just wasn't happening. It was a long process of trying to get through school and be able to just like all the pieces connect. It just wasn't happening. So after a few years of struggling and ignoring this little voice in the back of my head that said, go to hair school, I finally just like sought the Lord and went to our hair school, and I had an immediate wave of just peace and comfort over that situation, which honestly kind of made me mad. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to do. That was not the answer I was looking for. But I went ahead and finished that semester of college that I was in, and then withdrew and then enrolled into hair school that January. And then rest is history, I guess. That's how I got into it. It was not the original plan, but it has definitely been it's been a journey.
Okay, so you knew that like it was an option because of your family, and you had just been, you said your grandfather and who else?
So my great-grandmother, my great-aunt, and my grandfather all made careers out of it.
Okay, great.
Can you tell us a little about like everything that you do?
So everything that I do, that is everything. So every salon is a little bit different, but you either are like commission or you're booth rental. So you're either like an employee or you're an independent contractor. And so I'm an independent contractor, which means I pay rent each week to have the right to reserve a space for me to be able to work out of. With that comes a lot of pros and cons. So pros mean like I get to make my own schedule. I get to basically do what I want. Like as long as I'm not costing myself more money at the end of the week than I'm making, it's a great deal. That means that I also have like a 1099 as opposed to like a W-2 because I'm not an employee. It means I'm paying like my own taxes. It means I keep up with my own inventory. I'm my own receptionist, my own cleaning crew. Like pretty much if I want my business to succeed, it is on me to make that happen. So being an independent contractor it's really great, but it's also really draining sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the 1099. Because I worked as an independent contractor over the summer, and so when I got that form, I was like, oh, it's not just a regular W-2, and like that kind of idea, like you're doing a lot by yourself, and so there's that risk of, from what I'm getting, there's that risk of, you're all commission, right? Yes. And so, I'm guessing there's more earning potential within an independent contractor.
There can be. It's one of those jobs you get out of it what you put into it. So, I mean, working like a 9 to 5, you basically sign a thing that says like, hey, I'm going to be your employee. I come in these hours, I make this amount of money, I go home, like your real only job at that point is like, don't lose your job, like keep the job. But at the end of the week, you're still going to receive that paycheck. So for me, that means I have to do my own advertising. I have to do my own communications. Like, there have been times like I miss a text and then that's an entire piece of my income that I don't get that week because they found somebody else because I just didn't see the text. Or, little things like that are things that if I want to succeed and make money and move forward with like, this is a career rather than just like a side gig, then it is on me to make sure that's happening.
Okay. And what are we looking at for the education that you need to be a cosmetologist?
So prior to coming here, I thought I knew the answer to that, but it has changed for the state of Texas. Did not know that. So when I was going through school, the education requirements were to enroll in a licensed school and clock in 1,500 hours with the state. So for me, that was essentially a full-time job for 11 months. It was going in every Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and getting those 1,500 hours. Then to get the 1,500 hours, and then you have to take a written exam, which you are eligible to take at 1,000 hours. So you can take that while you're still in school. You don't have to, but they strongly encourage you to have a more successful to have a more successful rate of success afterwards, because then you cannot take your practical exam until after you have officially graduated. So then after that, every 2 years with the state of Texas, you have to have continuing education hours. So every 2 years to renew your license, you take 4 hours of continuing education, which is 2 technical hours, 1 hour of sanitation, and 1 hour in human trafficking. The only differences that I can see from when I was in school to now is instead of 1,500 hours, it is now only 800 hours. So that means your time in school is cut in like a
half?
Yeah, yes. Believe me, I was a little irritated. I said,
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how they're getting everything in that they need, but there's a ton of successful new stylists out there, so I'm sure they have figured out a way to make this work. But it was surprising information to learn.
A lot of the, barbers that we see coming out now, let's take Albert, for example, right?
Pick on Albert.
Most of the time they learn from their phone, like TikTok and all that stuff. And I just completely forgot that, most of the, I'm not going to say older, older barbers,
yeah,
are, they went to school, but now these people are starting up their own, barbershop in the garage with just a ring light and, cutting people's hair.
Yes,
so,
which is totally, you can do that for sure, which is something that is really surprising. It's been surprising to me with just watching the industry shift, not even from my great grandmother's time in the 40s, but even just when I went through school, because what you're talking about it wasn't even talked about really. TikTok has only come out in the last few years. The education opportunities and the freedom and flexibility that people are finding in this industry is really changing the nature of, apparently, according to my Google search today, even how many hours you need. So, I'm sure there's a lot of pros and cons to that, but...
So you're at an actual, a trade, is it a trade school? So there's this, a place you go to and they're training you?
Mm-hmm, yes. So it would be considered a trade school as opposed to an institution of, an educational institution, like a college or something. So instead of getting a degree or instead of getting a degree, you would receive a license with the state. And so that means that TDLR can come in and inspect your salon to make sure that everything is up to code and up to par. So if something goes wrong or if you commit some kind of crime or something, you are responsible to report to the state of Texas and can lose your license, just like any electrician or plumber or anything like that. Yes.
Okay. And what was that time just learning, because I'm guessing you didn't have any experience before that cutting hair. Was it a steep learning curve?
It was It was interesting. The school that I went to was very, very, very good at making sure that every single different type of learning style was being targeted. So they had a really healthy mix of like hands-on versus written versus verbal versus
Auditory, maybe?
yes, thank you. Yes. So versus like auditory, and being able to just target every different type of learning style to be able to help you learn the best that you can. So with any task that we had, with any new thing that we were learning, they would do it in every single way. So if we were going to learn a new technique on a haircut, they would not only have us working on the mannequins, they would have like a visual up on the wall with like a diagram, and they would be verbally talking about it while they were doing it. So you're getting all of your sensory met, so you were able to really feel by the time you walked out of there that you had been taught. So yes, I went in with absolutely zero understanding, other than just kind of a little bit of head knowledge of what my family did, but at the same time, I had never done this before. I did have a fairly good understanding of like the color wheel, which I found a lot of people did not. So that when it came down to like learn the color wheel and learn color theory, I was like, yes, I got this, I know this. And then I'm looking around at my classmates, I had no idea. That some of them had no clue. They did not know that like red plus blue equals purple. That was a brand new concept to them. But it was interesting because while that was a brand new concept to them, there were things that were brand new concepts to me. Like the pH scale, that was very hard for me to learn, was like neutralizing and acidices and like alkaline and all of that stuff. So there was a lot I had to learn.
Okay, and then you're like, besides cutting hair, what are you doing?
What am I doing as far as like with the rest of my life, or?
Sorry, I mean like as a cosmetologist, you're cutting hair, but you're also dyeing hair, and like what are all the things you're qualified to do?
Gotcha. So with a cosmetologist license, you are able to do pretty much anything. So if I strictly wanted to just use a comb and scissors and cut hair, I can do that. If I want to do like perms and chemical and color applications, I can do that. I can do facials, body waxing, I can do nails, I can work with wigs, extensions, makeup, do like styles for like weddings and events. The only things that a cosmetologist license does not enable you to do is work with a straight bladed razor. So if I wanted to do that, I would need to go get a barbering license. So a barbering license, you basically know how to do like the basics of everything, but it does not enable you to do like skin and nails. It's just hair with a straight razor. Kind of the same thing with esthetician work. So with a cosmetologist license, I can do, like I said, like facials, body waxing, facial waxing, nails. But with an esthetician license, it enables you to work under the first layer of the epidermis, meaning you can do like extractions, you can do like microdermabrasions, you can do like permanent makeup with like a tattoo gun, those type of things, but you couldn't do that with a cosmetologist license. You can only do what is on the first surface layer of the skin.
Okay. That kind of brings us to the next question.
Yeah, this goes kind of deep. Like, there's a lot of different, like, layers. So, can you tell us, like, is that all of the progressions, or is there any more?
So really it depends on what you want to do. So, I mean, you could go as far as being a hair and makeup person in a funeral home if you wanted to, because that's a very needed field and industry. Is not a lot of people are willing to do that, but it's definitely something that you could do if you didn't want clients to talk back to you.
I was just going to make that up.
There's a little something for everybody. If you wanted to break into more of like a Hollywood scene and go work for hair and makeup on a movie set or a TV show where this person's hair needs to look the exact same for every episode and work on making sure that it's perfect for every scene. I mean, the opportunities truly are endless on anything that you could do. I have friends who have cosmetologist license and they only do nails. They just want to do manicures, pedicures all day long, and they're totally content with that, which is great for them. It fits their lifestyle, their goals, their dreams. They are happy. But then I have ones who are like celebrity style hairstylists who travel all over the US going to different shows and doing education, and they're more in the part of the industry that teaches other people how to do things. So with a cosmetologist license, you can also go a step further and get your teaching license, which enables you to either work in a school or, like I said, like work at shows to be able to educate more people to continue their goals.
Okay. So that's good to know that, like, you know, you don't have to do everything, and you don't have to do one thing. You can do as much as you want.
Yes, as much or as little as you want. It is truly, like you said, it's a multi-layered, multifaceted industry that it can give you as much or a little as you want. If you're my grandmother and my great aunt, they were single stay-at-home moms, basically raising kids, and they just needed to go to work, cut some hair, go home. You know, they weren't trying to, in this day and age, be TikTok famous and have like their own hair care brand, or, you know, like make their job work for them rather than them for it. It just really depends on what your goals, what your dreams are, and finding a way to still have joy in it and just be creative.
Right. Pop quiz time. What's the difference, I'm asking both of y'all, between
Okay.
a cosmetologist and a cosmologist? I had to learn this.
The difference? Mm-hmm. What's we're asking both of who?
I'm asking you and Camille.
Okay.
A cosmetologist and a cosmologist?
Okay. Oh, I got this. Okay. Cosmetologist. Hair and nails, right? And looks. What is it?
Cosmologist.
Space.
Yep.
Yay!
Boom.
There we go. See, my brain went
words.
astrology, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's right.
Root words. Shout out Miss Bowen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to Miss Bowen. I just when I was researching that, I was like, okay, say cosmetologist, say cosmetologist, do not say cosmologist. So anyway, next question: what's the hardest part of your job?
People, for sure. People. I would say anybody going into this industry, you need to be willing to work with and communicate with people, because even though you are your own boss, you are in charge, it is your license that you're utilizing, your creative abilities, that you're the professional in the setting. You know, you're calling the shots here. If you can't communicate with people, they're probably not going to come back. Because doing hair is something where you need, like I said, it's not a 9 to 5. You have to continue to have people on your book. You have to have them come back, or you're not going to make money next week. Might make it today, not going to make it next week. So you need to be able to build that relationship. And whether you're working in a salon setting or like a Hollywood setting, you still have to work with people. And so if you're unwilling to learn how to communicate and navigate the relational aspect of customer service, it's not going to work for you. So just having an open mind and a kind heart and a willingness to listen, that is something that you have to be able to do if you want to succeed in this industry. So I would say that is the hardest part, just because that is what I see a lot of stylists make the mistake of not focusing on, and then they get frustrated or they get burnt out or they wonder why it's not easy. Again, big air quotes on that. Then it's because they're missing the most important part, which is you're not doing hair, you're doing someone's hair.
Right.
Yeah.
You said something that reminded me. When you go and you sit in that chair, I don't know why. You go there, you sit there for a haircut, but then you leave with a therapy session. Because I don't know what it is with a relationship with someone who just does your hair. It's just like, you know, you tell them
It's
everything.
special.
Yeah.
You tell them everything.
You have to be there for, you know, whatever, 45 minutes
Yeah.
at least. I mean, at least for a guy.
Yeah.
Probably longer sometimes for like the dying hair.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like something you have to consider. It's so there's such a personal like relationship level that I imagine not everyone considers when going into cosmetology.
Yes, I know all the secrets.
There's actually a little plaque on your desk, or not on your desk. It says 5 cents therapy. So it's funny that you mentioned that. It's like definitely agreed upon that your cosmetologist is your therapist.
Pretty much.
Yes, barbers, cosmetologist. It's a very I don't know. I don't want to use the word intimate because that sounds intimate, but I mean, it is a very, very isolated little block of time in a very busy, chaotic world where you have all these other things you have to do, you have to work on. But like sitting and getting your hair done, that's all you're doing. Yeah. You know, so suddenly nothing else matters in this moment. You're like, I am paying for this service. I am sitting here. I have to be still, you know, and suddenly you have this person standing very close to you for a very extended amount of time, and they're just listening. And it's great. It's really special, and that is definitely it's that part is my favorite part of the job, is also people.
Well, that answers the next question.
Do you have like any good stories, maybe like the worst haircut experience, or maybe the worst haircut you've gotten or you've received, or like you've given?
Yeah, let's get into these stories.
Yeah, let's get into these stories.
So I don't want to get too spicy with my stories, because I got to maintain that relationship. But I will say they're very consistently across the board. The person doing your hair is going to be the first person to know a lot about your life. There's a lot of things that you're willing to tell the person doing your hair. Not that you're not going to tell your friends or family, but it's somebody that like is very disconnected from your circles, so you can tell this person things that you haven't been able to tell people yet, or you want to say it out loud and kind of take it for a test run first. Like, I've had situations where I have heard about a miscarriage for the first time, or heard about a pregnancy for the first time, or someone has just left their husband or just gotten engaged, or just these moments of like pure, just raw humanity, just situations where you're sitting there connecting with people like, oh, that was a lot, but at the same time you feel so honored and blessed to be able to give them a safe space to be able to share. And so with that comes things such as I have helped somebody shave their head when they're going through a cancer battle, or alternatively, I've been able to help somebody find a new way to style their hair as it's growing back in after winning a battle with cancer and their hair is coming back in. I've been able to help moms who are struggling with postpartum depression and they've lost a lot of their hair and they don't feel like themselves again. And I'm like, okay, like, what do we need to do to bring your spark back? Is this a new color? Is this a new haircut? Like, what can we do? And then that just opens this door for them to be able to have the freedom of vulnerability to just share. One story that really sticks out to me was several years ago. It was a good friend of mine. I'd known her for a long time. She was planning her wedding. She was planning to get married. Her wedding was in about 2 weeks, and we had been working on getting her hair color perfected so that it looked great on the day, was meeting all her goals. We had an appointment scheduled to do kind of a trial run for the style we were going to do for her hair. And her mom died 2 weeks before her wedding. So she comes in anyway, and because that appointment happened to be the day before the funeral. And so she came in and we went ahead and we did the hair appointment, and I was like, look, I'm going to put you into the end of my day so we can take as much time as we need here. This is your time. And she was obviously, there was a lot going on. And then her sister ended up texting her and was like, hey, do you think she has time to do my hair too? Like, I want to look good for mom's service tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, come in. And at this point, I have no clue what my night's going to look like. Long story short, my night ended up looking like us sitting there, the three of us, and their dad, who came in later, until about midnight. We had ordered pizzas. We watched a movie. We were talking, crying, laughing. I mean, it was just this time of these people who already meant so much to me just needed a space that had nothing to do with weddings or funeral or anybody else except them. And so that'll always stand out in my mind as just something special that I was able to help give them. And at the time, I still felt very helpless because in that moment, there's still so much more I wanted to do. But looking back on it, I'm like, no, that's exactly what they needed. They just needed somebody to listen and provide them a safe space. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like, you're right, it's like a unique space. Nothing else is, if you go to a friend, they already kind of, I feel like it's kind of like a different space where you can kind of say anything, even though obviously you're hopefully cosmetologist means a lot to you, but it's like a different opportunity. So
no, it is definitely somebody, you think of, oh, I've got my friend for this, or my boss for this, or my coworker for this. But then, in that list, you don't often think about it. But your barber, your cosmetologist, it is, they are in there.
Yeah. What's the work-life balance like in your job?
So for me personally, and like we said, this is a multifaceted industry, so it could look like a billion different things. For me personally, I would say it's pretty balanced. I'm able to make my own schedule. So if I need to take off for a dental appointment, I can just be like, well, not available these hours. Like, don't put anybody on my books, you know. If I need to be home early to do whatever or be at an event or something, I just mark off my schedule and I go do what I need to do. But you still have to be able to have balance with that and like still having hours that you are working to make money. So you still have to be available for it. So that is something that I would say, especially to any aspiring stylist or somebody struggling with finding that work-life balance, is know how to say no. Just learn that saying no is okay. That being like, hey, I really want to take this walk-in who just came in. I want to be available because if I don't say yes right now, I might never see them again. That's somebody I could have for the next 5 years. But if you have somewhere you have to be, you have to say no, because that's where you lose that work-life balance. And that goes back to the relational aspect of it, which is communicating with them and be like, hey, I'm so happy you walked into my salon today. I don't happen to be available, but, and I mean, obviously you want to pass off to a coworker if they're standing there and free, you know, you don't want to be selfish. And also you want to focus on the person who walked in, but you want to say like, yeah, I would love to get you in tomorrow. Are you free between these hours? You know, and just communicate, connect, and let them know that they're seen, they're valued, and they're not just being brushed aside. And learning how to say no in order to say yes to other things is very important. And I think that's really the biggest key for me in finding work-life balance is just prioritizing yourself and just knowing that saying no is okay and not overstressing yourself to the point that you end up having to say no for a different reason.
Could you tell us like how many, like on average, how many hours you work a week?
On a really good week, probably, I mean, close to 35, 40. I mean, on a good week. There's definitely, especially through holidays and winter months, the past few years, I would say maybe 20, 25. It depends. A little bit of that, too, is just, and you know, I said earlier how you get into it what you put out. You get out of it what you put into it. So that means like there's a lot more I could be doing at this point, which is like promoting myself or having like a really successful Instagram or passing out business cards or, you know, working on like a referral program. And I personally have not been working on those things. So I could have more hours, but a really good week for me looks about like 35, 40.
Okay.
You ever get like tired of the job or ever feel like your job is a job?
Oh, absolutely. I will say the job that I have at the salon I'm currently at, it is the first job I've had in my life where I don't feel like I have to wake up and dread going into my job. I just wake up and I just get there somehow. I don't know. I just show up. And I'm happy to do so because every day is different. I never truly know what my day is going to look like. Plenty of surprises across the board. And also I love the people that I get to see and hang out with, so that's always good. There are moments where, so my best friend also does hair. So there's moments at the end of my day, I'll text her and be like, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm never doing this again. I'm over it. And that's usually because either I haven't taken very good care of myself that week, so my body is just completely done. Like, it's over it. I'm malnourished, dehydrated, I'm sore, like I'm exhausted, and I cannot take another step forward. And that's on me. You know, that's on me for not taking care of myself to prep myself for what I need to do. Or I had some really bad customer service experiences that day, and I'm just over people. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to see people. I want nothing to do with people. I would say I don't think I ever get bored of it. I think, but there are some days I feel burnt out or I feel overwhelmed, or for me personally, I take it personally because this is something that I'm doing. Like, anything that happens in that service is because of me. There's no boss, there's no coworker, there's no CEO, you know. If something goes wrong or doesn't, or I don't meet their expectations or I didn't communicate, that's on me. And so if I feel like I've somehow disappointed them or let them down or didn't like meet their goals, then I take it personally. And that's another thing I would say to aspiring stylists is learn how to let it go. Like, learn how to take from it what happened, what can I do different next time, and you have to move on, because there's a very fine line of beating yourself up to the point that you don't know how to move forward again, or you give up, and you work way too hard to get there. That's not helpful. So yeah, to answer that question.
Okay. And that kind of brings us to the next question. This is our kind of Instagram quote question. Are you passionate about your job, or is it a means to pursue your passions?
Whew, that's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. We could talk for a long time about that one. I would say because I am passionate about people, yes, I am passionate about my job. Again, it's multifaceted. Some people, you know, they've wanted to cut hair and color hair since they were a child, cutting on their Barbie dolls, you know. For me, that wasn't me. But I'm passionate about people. So, yes, because I'm passionate about people, I am passionate about my job, but I really could care less about doing hair. Doing hair is a means to be able to work with people. I would love to continue working with people in more capacities. It is a dream one day of mine to be able to go back to school and to finish that psychology degree and just have that as something that I'm also doing in addition to this, or maybe instead of one day. But that is all very, very in the air. It's not something that I'm only doing hair so I can get there. This has been it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I've been traveling this journey, and I've been very happy to be on this road, but it is, I don't know. People are my passion. And as long as I'm able to work with people, it is something that I care about.
Yeah, it seems like there's the underlying passion, like whether it's with your future dreams of psychology or your current occupation with hair, you know, it's all about people, and that's cool to see.
Yeah, I like that. You know, at the end of the day, it did kind of tie back into, you know, when you started and you went to school, you wanted to care for people. And then, you know, starting your hair business, I don't know if you were expecting it to be like...
No, nobody warns me.
If you were like, you know, you weren't expecting it to kind of tie back like that, but it, you know, it kind of did.
It definitely did.
Yeah,
it was a pleasant surprise along the way that it did take me a little while to be able to see. I think one of the first moments, the first year I was doing hair, that I actually was like, oh, I'm actually doing a thing that's bigger than the thing I thought I was doing. It was this little kid who had like this mess of like massive curly, messy, tangled up hair. And the kid was maybe about 10, and she just hated her hair. She hated it. She felt ugly. She felt gross. She just didn't like it. And her mom was, you know, just exasperated, because what kid wants to listen to their parent, you know, brushing their hair? Nobody. So this little kid sits in my chair, and she's just like all frustrated. And I was like, hey, like, can I teach you how to detangle your hair in a way that doesn't hurt you? And she was like, yes. And so I did. And then she was able to do it herself by the end of the appointment. And she just looked at me and she was like, I think I like my hair now. And it was just this light bulb moment of like, like, this is so much more than doing hair. Like, watching this little kid's face light up as I watched her learn how to detangle her hair by herself, and her just like, I like my hair. I like my hair. It got me.
That's awesome.
I love that. That's good. Yeah.
You know what else is awesome?
I'll press the button this time.
All right, you can press the button.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
All right, so this is the question everybody wants to know, you know, when it comes to a career. What spectrum of pay can we expect in cosmetology?
That was a good button. It really depends. So I did Google this because I wanted to be fairly accurate for 2024. Google says that in Texas, the average is around $35,000 to $75,000 a year. I will say, though, that doesn't really make sense to me, because it greatly depends on your location, your clientele, how much work you're willing to put in, the type of services you're providing, if you're keeping track of your expenses and the cost of your services, as well as like the general economy and your cost of living, and making sure that you're not spending more than you're earning. And like, all of those factors really come into play. There's plenty of stylists out there who easily earn, well, I say easily, who are able to earn six figures or more, depending on if they have a business savvy mindset, if they're not viewing hair as just a job, but rather a career. If they're willing to move forward with a career path and consistently educate themselves and find ways to make the business work for them, all of those things greatly impact the income that you have. So if you're totally content to like have hair is just something that you're doing to get by, or hey, I'm making enough to live the life that I want to live, then that's awesome. You keep doing you. You know, it depends. I would say average, somewhere between the 35 to 70 is fairly average if you're simply working in a salon in the town you live in and going home at the end of the day.
What would you need to do, like, if you're one of those more entrepreneurial cosmetologists? What would you need to do to push that six-figure mark?
So some advice that I heard very long time ago was don't start in the salon and don't start in a salon and then think that you're just going to continue slowly working your way up. Go to a salon that is already doing what you want to do and be willing to start at the bottom there, because it's a lot harder to start in like a little small backwoods town and be like, well, I'm going to work here. Then one day I'll be able to, like that. You can, but that's a lot harder and a lot longer. It's a lot easier if you go into a place that like they're already doing what I want. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'll be an assistant. I'll be the shampoo girl. I'll be the receptionist. I'll do whatever I need to do to be around the people that are doing what I want, so that you can make the connections and build the rapport with people who can help connect you to other people who can get you to where you want to go. And I would say that also always being willing to be educated, always being willing to learn and grow your skill set. That's vital. This industry is constantly changing. It is ever evolving, and being able to always like learn and expand upon your skill set, add things to your skill set. That is just important to continue to grow, because the industry is always going to be, styles change, needs change, lifestyles change, what people want, that's always changing. So yeah, just being able to be willing to be taught and continue to educate yourself is important.
So we're getting into the unique question area that is more like the questions more catered to your job specifically. Mm-hmm. And when we were coming up with questions, me and Ian were immediately talking about how, we conversate with our barbers and talk, but we always wonder if we're annoying them. So is it hard to multitask when you're like, cutting hair and they're just continuing to talk?
Sometimes I will say that goes back to what I said about being willing to communicate. And if you're not able as a stylist to communicate what you need to do to the person, it's going to be difficult. Like if they're constantly like turning around and looking at you while you're trying to cut their hair, that can be fun for a second. That's fine. But it's the barber or stylist job to say like, hey, I need you to hold your head still. Pause the conversation 2 seconds. Let me cut this one side. Then we can continue. And
unspoken rule? Don't look at your...
Like you get in your lineup, you got to be real still, and then you're like,
oh, yeah. You're not gonna. You'll have a straight edge that goes at a very sharp angle.
Yeah.
Yes. So it can be. However, when it's a relational job, it comes with the territory of being able to be flexible. So if somebody's really chatty and wants to talk and moving around a lot, you just kind of work with it. You get to know that person. You allow a little more time for their appointment. If you're on a super tight schedule, you need to communicate up front, like, hey, I love our conversations, but I can't get distracted today because like we gotta move on, like XYZ. So like we gotta hone in and focus on this and make sure this happens so that we can get you out of here in time. Or if they come in and say, hey, I have to be out of here by 1:00, you're like, okay. Hey, you told me you got to be out of here by 1:00. Like, we got to wrap the story up so I can keep working. Like, just little things like that, and communicating the person's needs with what you need to be able to do your literal job that they're paying you to do. I think it really just depends. For me, I wouldn't say it's hard. I would say me not communicating and then getting frustrated about it is not that person's fault. It's mine. So.
What about because this still boggles my mind. You're thinking about cutting the different cuts. I'm not an expert in this, but how are you having a deep conversation a lot of times and thinking about oh, I need to do this kind of fade? I don't know.
Being ADHD helps a little bit. My spicy brain has a lot of room to play in that front. But part of that too is just the intense training that you go through in school. So a lot of things become muscle memory to a degree. Like it seems, I mean, it is pretty technical, but a haircut is all about shape. And so you've got like triangles, rectangles, squares, like circles, and your muscle memory and your ability to know, like, okay, what is my goal up front? Like, what am I getting? What is my end goal of this haircut? You know, what are they wanting? What do I need to do? And having that consultation up front to be able to know what are our goals today, then it is my job to figure out how to execute that. So, I mean, the multitasking part, I don't know. I've never had to answer this question, so I'm trying to think, like, how does my brain work? My brain works in like shapes, and so I'm able to like look at somebody's head and see what we have and where we're trying to get to, and then get it figured out from there. So example, when you're cutting somebody's hair, you work with what's called like a guide, and so you'll cut the one section that you need. You're like, okay, I need it at this length or about this length. And then you split that piece in half and then move to the piece that you haven't cut, which is next to it. And then, but you still have a section from the original cut to line up to be like a guide marker, so that you can like carry that and then cut that here, then move to the next one, carry that. And so you're never having to guess where you are in the haircut, because you're working on patterns, you're working on kind of a grid system in a way. And that really just comes with school, and it comes with practice. And it comes with paying attention in school. Because if you don't instill those muscle memory techniques from the very beginning, yes, you are going to get severely lost in the middle of a haircut later on.
You know, while we're here and you went to school for this, do you have any sort of, like, what is it called? Anything that can get rid of this?
the
little widow's peak? Like, I mean, the clippers, but they come back, and laser hair removal, right? But do you have like just like a spray or something that you can just like and just freeze it?
I mean, aside from laser hair removal, concealer, you could always just kind of like mask it over, get that, go into the other side of cosmetology with the makeup aspect, just kind of cover it up.
We'll get you right, Tyson.
Yeah.
It really depends. It really depends on if it's something that you want to work with or work against. So knowing that you want to work against it, my question then would be, how much maintenance do you want? Do you want to zzz it off every single day and have it grow back every other day? Or do you want to have like extended period of time of like waxing it off to where it takes longer for that hair to come back, where you're getting it from the root rather than like the surface? So my questions would always be like, what are your goals and what kind of maintenance do you want to have to deal with?
Yeah, that's what I used to do. Like every time before I left, like it would be like school. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd just get my dad's razor and just and then I'd like miss a spot or something, and then it's just hanging there. So yeah, it kind of sucks.
I think your hair looks great.
Let's go.
The cosmetologist says that.
I give it my stamp of approval.
Yes.
Well, that was good to see. Like I mean, that's kind of like a client interaction right there. Like, you're telling about
it's
a
that consultation
problem.
part.
Yeah, so good to see that live. So yeah. So our next question is, actually, I'm curious because this will lead into it. Do you ever have people that like are completely quiet and you don't say anything?
Yes. Oh yeah, I have definitely had people in my chair for 3+ hours who never speak an entire word the whole time. Yeah. And for me, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Now I will say, just because I've worked with people for so long, I've gotten pretty good at kind of gauging, like matching their energy. So if they come hype, I will match it. I'll be like, cool, we're hyped today. Let's be hyped today. Even if I'm dying inside, I'm going to be like, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Like, I don't want to, because for me, yes, I see people all day long, but for them, I'm their one experience that day. I'm the only person they're interacting with in that way. So I want to make that from beginning to end a good experience. And so I try to match their energy. Now, if they come in grumpy and angry, obviously I'm not going to match that, but I will try to counter that with like, peaceful, tranquil. I will keep my words soft and calm and let them know, like, I am not going to be an additional threat to whatever got you in this place today.
You're not going to like egg them on and be like, yeah, she is an idiot. Yeah, you need to leave him. Yeah.
There are times I will... There's a weird balance of staying true and authentic to myself and my own beliefs and my own values and what I stand for, my own opinions, versus just being like, oh yeah, man, that pizza topping sucks, just because it's a fun little banter conversation. And I'm like, this doesn't matter. Like, I'll just roll with it. Like, this is fine, like, just like you said, like, man, like, let me get on your page. Like, let me hype this up, or let me like agree with you that is the worst. And just connecting with them enough to be able to build that relationship with them and make it feel like a relatable situation. So yeah, sometimes people come in and they chat 90 to nothing about fabrics all day long.
Who is that?
Let's not target here.
No. When people come in and they chat about, whatever topic is on their mind, a million miles an hour the whole time. And sometimes I'm just standing there listening, which is fine. Sometimes they want that engagement back. Sometimes they come in after a long day, or they've had a rough week, and for them a haircut is their one moment of quiet. And usually I can see that up front. Or if I notice they're quiet and I'm like, I don't know this person, are they being quiet because they think it's weird, they don't know how to talk to me, I'll be like, hey, would you rather this just be a quiet appointment today? And they're like, yes, please. And I'm like, perfect. Let's roll with that. That's fine by me. But if they're like, no, like, I want to talk, I'm just nervous, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's get to know you, like, you don't have to be nervous here. So it takes getting to know your people. It takes remembering things about them, learning about them. It takes just being willing to remember that it's not about you. It's customer service. It is, and I don't say that to sound, I don't know, disconnected from it and it's only customer service. But no, it's really serving your customers. And that's an important aspect to keep in mind, because one, they're paying you for a service, and two, it really is an industry where you're putting their needs before yours. Like, you are there to make their day better. You are there to uplift them. You are there to enhance their overall appearance, their identity, their look, how they feel about themselves. And with that comes the emotional connection. So.
Okay.
So, do you have, did we kind of, no, we didn't kind of really get on this part. So, do you have like your favorite kind of customer and worst kind of customer, or?
Yes. So the worst kind of customer to me is the type, I'm going to try to say this carefully. It's the type who comes in completely unwilling to acknowledge that at the end of the day, I am the professional with a skill set. And while, yes, if they say, I want my hair cut above my ears, or I want like these really funky bangs, yes, if that's really what they want and I try to advise against it, but that's what they want, yes, I will still do it. But there's this part where if I say, hey, I care more about the integrity of your hair at this point, for like, say, this really pertains more to chemical services. If I see that this goal that you have is going to literally melt your hair off your head, I highly advise option B. Like, this is an end goal we can work towards, but like, I need us to be on the same page. These are things that we need to do in order to get you there safely and keep your hair intact and keep the integrity maintained. I need them to roll with me on that, because again, I am the skilled licensed professional that knows what I'm talking about. But so the worst kind of customer to me is the kind that has no regard for that. And they still have a less than positive reaction to me. And at that point I decide, like, I'm not the best person to do your hair. Like, I apologize. Like, I'm more than happy to like refer you to a couple places, or, like refund your, like whatever the situation is to like just peacefully move forward. I will work with that, but yeah, just the worst kind to me is the kind of unwilling the kind that is unwilling to just communicate and listen and be willing to know, like, hey, this professional that I'm paying knows what they're talking about, and I need to probably listen to them in order to get to my goals. Now, I will say sometimes they need to go find a second opinion, and sometimes they do. And then they come back to me later and they're like, yeah, I talked to 3 other stylists and come to find out you were right. So you're the person that I want to stick with because you're the first one to sit and tell me like, hey, this isn't attainable. It depends. Sometimes the worst kind of customer ends up being some of my favorite, by the next appointment. But it's just when that attitude comes in, it's hard for me to know what I'm about to be up against.
And then the best kind of customer, me.
Yeah, the kind that talks about fabrics all the time.
No, I'm kidding. Who is the best kind of customer?
The best kind of customer to me, I don't know if I have an answer for that because everyone is so different. I think as long as we're willing to get on the same page by the end of the appointment and know like, hey, we have a mutual understanding between us of like, this is what you came in wanting, but this is where we landed for today. And I look forward to seeing you again. I think just being able to communicate well to the person is just the best kind of person to me. Somebody willing to listen, but also communicate back with me on what they're feeling or what they're not feeling. Like if they're going to sit there and be miserable and be like, I hate it, but then tell me they love it, that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
I would definitely hate to think that, we've been on the same page and then I look on Google later and see a review that is less than positive. I guess that goes back to worst kind. But yeah, best kind is just one that can communicate back with me where they're at, make sure we're all happy, make sure we're on the same page, and just build a really great relationship moving forward.
Great.
Last question. What would you tell somebody that's interested in your career?
I would say it's hard. Doing hair is hard. While you have a trade that offers an unlimited number of opportunities and freedom, you rarely have consistent or predictable income. You have to buy your own medical insurance, fill out your own taxes. You have to constantly pause and take care of your body with the wear and tear that this job puts on it. There's an incredibly long list of pros and cons going into this field, but if you're thinking it's going to be easy and that's your main reason for considering it, I would strongly urge you to chat with some stylists that you know and gain insight into what their day-to-day life is so that you're not like blindsided by the negatives that come with many, many positives. Hair is really about customer service and people, and if you're not willing to work on the relational aspect, I would say don't do it. That is something. Now, again, there's plenty of ways you can be in this industry and not work with people to that degree. Like, you don't have to be a therapist in order to work in this industry. There's plenty of opportunities you can do that don't involve that. However, if you're not willing to see that at the root really is where this industry stems from, it's going to be more of a challenge for you than it will be just like easy sailing. I would also say that, like I said earlier, like you get out of it what you're putting into it. So if you're willing to educate and continue learning and learn new trends and techniques and products and stay up to date on new opportunities and take continuing education classes or even watch TikTok videos of, stylists or different salons that are like offering their education for you to be able, it's free. Get on TikTok and scroll and find some stylists. If you're not willing to do that, it's going to be hard to stay relevant in the career. You can easily make money just standing behind the chair and cutting hair every single day. But if you want to be able to pay your bills, raise your prices, like work with like your cost of living, like you need to be willing to grow. So yeah, I would say like it's hard. It's hard, but it's also a lot of fun.
Great. Oh, you know what? I had one more question. The spinning black, white, and blue thing. Mm-hmm. What is that? Like, why do they all have the...
like the barber pole?
Yeah.
Barber pole. Okay, so I could be wrong on this, and somebody can correct me if they find out that I am wrong. My grandfather always told me that it originated from like old school barbering days where like the towels and the neck strips that they used, if they like nicked the person or cut them and got blood on them, they had to like wash and dry them and like put them out somewhere to dry. And so it became this like thing, like this little iconic thing of seeing like bloody neck strips and towels hanging out in front of the salons to dry. And then that just became like a symbol, and then they incorporated it slowly into like an image that you see, and you think, yes, that says barber.
Wow.
I could be wrong. That's what my grandfather told me. He did it for like 50 years. I don't know.
I think
Okay.
that's pretty much the gist of it. That's what I heard.
We'll trust Grandpa.
Thank you, Grandpa. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And somewhere the color blue came in there to bring some peace to the situation.
There you go. There you go, to calm you down. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's about it.
That's about it,
You have anything else?
No, I'm all good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you. Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it. So,
Of course.
thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.